I counsel young men when they're getting married. I say, here's what you're going to be tempted to do. I said, there's going to be things that you like, and as you begin to budget as a family, you will call them needs. There will be things that she wants, and you will call them wants. I said, just watch it. As y'all are budgeting as a family, she'll say, oh my gosh, I really want to go on a vacation with my friends. We got this time. You'll go, you know, baby, as we're budgeting under the Lord, the first fruits, of course, go to him. And the rest, I really think we should be responsible. And your kind of selfishness of your building your friendships, maybe that should make it in the budget this year. But then meanwhile, you buy a big screen TV because you're like, because there's a new one and it's huge. And I can watch the whole game. The guys are life size. I need to see all of them. And it's suddenly a need. You go, whoa, bro, don't do that. Don't bend the budget towards your preferences and leave hers out. You sacrifice so she wins. That doesn't mean you become her slave to her whims, but it does mean you become a student of what would make her most fully alive in God. And do that. I realize for me, I don't have to be great with all women. I don't. I have to be nice, right? But I don't have to know the ins and outs of all women. It's not what a husband has to do. I have to be the husband of one wife, that one. And I got to study her. What makes Donna fully alive under God? And I got to work on that kind of stuff. And it takes time to discover. I remember for me, when we first got married, I had a lot of understanding about husbandry and how it worked. And I thought, husbands build furniture. That's what a man does. And I remember as we got like furniture from IKEA, I hate building stuff. So I was like, okay, here it goes. Be a husband. And I sat down there with little instructions of the faceless guy and little baggies of stuff. And I'm in the middle of this and I hate it. It's punishment. And as I'm doing it, inevitably with each piece of furniture, Donna would be in the other room going, how's it going in there? I'm like, fine, it's fine. Doing husband stuff. And she would just kind of sort of start to circle. She'd pick up the instructions and look at them. I'm like, what are you doing? She'd kind of begin to sift through the bags and take things out of my hands, scooch me over, and I got offended. So what, do you think I'm not a man? Think I can't provide? And then I became a student of us, and I realized 2 free hours. 2 hours, do whatever you want. What's Ben gonna do? Easy. Read a book. Don't even have to think about it. Give me 2 free hours, reading a book. You give Donna 2 free hours, what does she do? Something with her hands. She builds stuff. She paints. She writes music. She sculpts. We were on vacation this last week, and we were out there, and on the back patio, they had these chairs, and she was like, hey, what if we redid these chairs? Let's spray paint them and redo some stuff and do that. And she was like, oh, come on, let's go to Home Depot. And they went to Home Depot and then fixed these chairs. I would never do that. It never crossed my mind, ever. If someone's chair, I sit in it and it snaps, I go, it's time for new chairs, bro. I'm never like, what if we fix this? I've never said, let's go to Home Depot. Doesn't cross my mind. But in the past town we lived in, we would go and they all knew Donna by name. They're like, what's up, Donna? You need 3/4 inch? And they're like, oh, are you her husband? I'm like, yeah, I am. And I do a lot of things you don't know anything about, man. And I realized she likes to build stuff. And so I spend money on things I never thought I would. So the next birthday, I just bought wood, just a ton of wood. She was in heaven. She built a picnic bench from scratch. And she's out there like, I'm loving it. And I'm like, that's great, awesome, because I don't want to do that and don't have to, and everybody wins. But what am I doing? I'm dedicating money to that, dedicating time for it. She does a lot raising the kids, so I'm trying to think of times where, hey, let me take them and you go. And we look out for each other in that way. How do we set each other up to win? That I want to initiate and I want to sacrifice so you can flourish under God. Not to hold you back, not to stifle you. That's not what a husband does, and that's not good leadership. A husband says, how did God build you? And I'm not going to be the servant to every need, but I am going to try to position the resources we have so that you win under God. So that when he sees his daughter, he sees her in all her splendor, without stain, without blemish. That's what I want to do. And when the world sees a man treat a woman like that, they marvel. Ancient Rome did not believe in Jesus, but how did Rome change? They saw the beauty often in Christian marriages. And they'd say, you know what you believe is backwards, it's regressive, it's weird, but it's better. It just is better. And it truly is. Wayne Grudem, who literally wrote the book on biblical manhood and womanhood, entitled Biblical Manhood and Womanhood, was a seminary professor on the East Coast, went and spoke at an event in Arizona. And when he got there, he watched his wife's health improve. The dry air helped a lot of her physical ailments. So what did he do? Quit his job, moved to a much less distinguished seminary in Phoenix. Why? Because you initiate and sacrifice so she flourishes under God. That's what biblical manhood and womanhood looks like. And as a husband initiates and sacrifices, and a woman responds and affirms, the world gets to see the beauty of how Jesus loves his church. And let me tell you, ladies, it's easy to follow a guy like that. And guys, it's pretty awesome to be a man like that. In World War II, the 101st Airborne Division was charged with liberating the city of Foy. And I remember reading the book Band of Brothers, made a TV show about it, about that very moment. And in that moment, Lieutenant Spears was in charge of these men. Spears, as he's presented in the book and in the show, was there because he was just kind of out for himself. I'm just trying to get the level of advancement I want for my own career and get out and do as little as possible. And so he was looking to just kind of ride, take it easy, coast out until he could leave. Had no intention of fighting on the front lines. And then they got called up in the 101st to take Foy. So he was called to lead that moment. They had to cross an open field, a very dangerous thing to do. So the trick there is you keep moving until you get into the city and can get solid cover and then go house to house and eliminate threats. As he ran out into the field and the shots began to fire, he in fear called all the men to hunker down, made them stop in the most dangerous and vulnerable place. Their Colonel Winters, who had been their lieutenant, is watching this happen, and as a good leader, it infuriates him. Your selfishness is jeopardizing these people, and he did what any leader would do. He prepared to run out there. But his CO told him, no, you need to see the whole battlefield and make commands from here. So he filled his position and he looked at a different Spears. It was Dyke who was out there. He looked at Lieutenant Spears and said, relieve Lieutenant Dyke. And Spears, without hesitation, charged out into that field through enemy fire. Relieved Dyke, circled with his men and said, what's going on? And they said, we're pinned down here and our other men are over there. We've been cut off with the enemy between us and our comms are down. We can't communicate to them where to advance. And he said, well, then wait here. And he stood up and sprinted into enemy lines. And they said it was so crazy, the enemy didn't fire him at first. They just kind of marveled at this guy who would just run at them. They're like, he is running right at us. And then he jumped the barricades and ran through them. And they're like, and he is just going right on by. And he connected with his men on the other side, communicated key information. And then they said, here was the crazy thing. Then he got up and ran back through enemy lines like leaping dudes and back to his guys in jeopardy. He said at that point, they took it personal, started shooting at him, not just their weapons in their hands, they started shooting 88s at him. That's anti-tank machinery. And they said that was impressive. They were after this guy. And he just ran to come get us and to lead us where we needed to be safe and then to accomplish our mission. And they said, we gladly followed that man who risked his life for us to secure us and to lead us on whatever mission we've been called to accomplish. And let me tell you something, that's what a good husband does. And that's what Jesus has done. Jesus ran into the chaos of our brokenness, and the world's a broken place. So much of Lamech is in us. And yet Jesus didn't stand far off. He came running into the field. He initiated. And then he sacrificed, didn't just risk his life, he gave his life. every drop of blood, that he who knew no sin became sin so that we might be right with God, that our failure lands on him, his forgiveness lands on us. Our wounds land on him, his healing comes to us. He takes on our identity as broken humanity, and we get to become sons and daughters of the King. He sacrificed so we could flourish, and it is a joy to follow a hero like that. And so before you get a relationship with any guy or girl right, get a relationship with this God right. A God who's not trying to oppress you, a God who's not holding you back, but a God who is charging in to set you free. It's a joy to follow a Jesus like that, with the freedom of our singleness devoted to him, and with our marriages displaying him. And when the world sees the love of a God like this, they will come. It happened in the past, and it will happen again. And I think cities will change and countries will change when they see the family of God live his way. We flourish under his leadership. Praise God for a hero like him.